There we go. Uh-oh. Well, let's see what happened there. That's too bad. I don't know what happened. What do I do first?
You've already combined the base ingredients, so now grate a pear to add to the sauce.
What do I do first?
Meta and Microsoft shares have fallen in after-hours trading after the tech giants disclosed huge AI spending plans in their latest earnings reports.
Meta might be the most misunderstood company in tech today. Many see it as a company burning capital on uncertain bets with no clear direction. In reality, Meta is doing something far more dangerous and far more ambitious. It's a story about long-term control, strategic patience, and a founder who refuses to play short-term games. At its core, Meta owns some of the most dominant consumer applications ever created. First, we have Facebook, still one of the largest social networks connecting billions of people across generations. Then we have Instagram, Meta's most strategically important platform, built on dopamine feedback loops that turn attention into habit and habit into profit. And then comes WhatsApp, the default communication layer for most of the world and one of the largest platforms yet to be meaningfully monetized. And finally, we have Threads, Meta's latest attempt to own real-time conversation. Most people don't actually have a problem with these products. They are used daily and they are still growing, and they generate staggering amounts of revenue. The frustration doesn't come from what Meta runs, but it comes from what Meta is building. Behind these applications, there is an entirely different division called Reality Labs. This is where Meta looks beyond screens and starts building for what comes next. It all started years ago with an acquisition of Oculus, founded by Palmer Luckey. Since then, Meta has been trying to answer a question most companies avoid. What comes after the smartphone? It's trying to build virtual reality headsets called Meta Quest, an attempt to create fully immersive digital environments. Alongside that, they're also developing augmented reality glasses designed to layer digital information directly onto the physical world. And then there are wearables, technologies meant to read neural signals and gestures, changing how humans interact with digital systems at a fundamental level. Together, these efforts are about redefining human-computer interaction, moving beyond taps and swipes towards gestures and spatial computing. On paper, this all looks exciting and futuristic. New platforms, new interfaces, and a chance to shape how people interact with technology for decades. So why do shareholders hate it? Because Reality Labs operate in a very different timeline. It requires massive upfront investment with no guarantee of near-term returns. Advertising accounts for nearly all of Meta's revenue. That business produces enormous operating cash flow, and every year Meta redirects tens of billions of those dollars into Reality Labs. Not for returns next quarter or even next few years, but for a future that haven't arrived yet. So if the risk is this obvious, why does Meta keep going? Because Meta's biggest threat isn't competition, it's dependence. Despite its scale, Meta doesn't actually control the platforms its applications live on. Its products run on operating systems owned by Apple and Google. Those companies decide the rules, the fees, and the privacy policies. And when those rules change, Meta has no vote, only consequences. We have already seen what that looks like. A single privacy change wiped billions from Meta's advertising business almost overnight. That moment clarified something fundamental. Owning users is not same as owning the platform. As long as Meta lives on someone else's platform, it's renting its future, and rent can always go up. Reality Labs is Meta's attempt to change that equation. Not by building another application, but by building the next generation computing platform from the ground up. Hardware, operating systems, interfaces, a stack Meta actually controls, because the most dangerous position in tech isn't being early, it's being dependent. While Reality Labs gets the attention, Meta has been making a very different set of moves in artificial intelligence. In June 2025, Meta invested $14.35 billion for a 49% stake in a company called Scale AI. Scale AI doesn't build flashy consumer products, it specializes in data labeling, the process that turns raw, messy data into training fuel for modern AI systems. And high quality labeled data is the bottleneck for every serious AI company. This is where Meta's advantage becomes obvious. Few companies on earth have more real world human data than Meta. Billions of users, images, videos, text, behavior. Scale AI helps turn that ocean of data into something models can actually learn from. But data alone isn't enough. You need the infrastructure to process it. Meta is spending aggressively on AI infrastructure, custom chips, massive compute clusters, and data centers. This isn't speculative spending, it directly feeds the system that already runs Meta's business. Better AI improves ad targeting, user acquisition, and it sharpens recommendation systems across Meta platforms. At Meta scale, even small improvements matter. When you're operating at billions of users, incremental gains compound faster than breakthroughs. Meta has also taken a different approach to AI models. Instead of locking everything behind APIs, it has open sourced much of its work. Open models attracts researchers and developers. On top of embedding AI deep into its backend systems, Meta has also quietly rolled out Meta AI across the front end, placing it directly in front of the users, not as a headline product, but as a feature users naturally engage with. So even if Reality Labs takes years to pay off, AI is already working. At this point, it's worth stepping back and look at the big picture. Very few companies on earth generate enough cash to fund multiple futures at the same time. Even fewer can do it consistently. Meta is one of them. Being early is expensive, but being unable to invest is fatal. At this scale, strategies don't execute themselves. It reflects the mindset of the person in charge. In Meta's case, that person is Mark Zuckerberg. Mark is often framed as a reluctant CEO or a founder who stumbled into power, but that misses what actually matters. Mark Zuckerberg is one of the most disciplined and ruthless operators in modern tech. He cuts costs aggressively, reorganizes teams, and doubles down where conviction remains. There are stories of him personally recruiting top AI researchers, showing up to their homes with food in hand, making it clear that if they join Meta, they would be given unlimited resources and full autonomy. He controls the company, he allocates the capital, and he's willing to take years of criticism in exchange for long-term leverage. Most CEOs work for quarterly narratives. Mark doesn't. He works for outcomes that only make sense over decades. That makes Mark unpopular in the short term and extremely dangerous in the long term. So where does that leave Meta? In my opinion, Meta is positioned to perform better than most people expect. Meta doesn't need every bet to succeed. It doesn't need virtual reality to win tomorrow, and it definitely doesn't need augmented reality to be perfect today. Because the core application business continues to compound. This is what makes Meta different. The downside is limited, but the upside isn't. That's why Meta doesn't need to convince everyone today. It just needs time. And history shows something interesting. Markets consistently underestimate the companies willing to invest through discomfort, especially when they are led by founders who think in decades. Mark Zuckerberg is still young, and he's looking to build Meta with a 15 to 20 year horizon on mind. You don't have to agree with every single decision Meta makes, but dismissing the strategy entirely misses the point. In the next video, let's discuss about the man behind the current AI era and who might be the greatest CEO of our generation. If this video gave you a new perspective on Meta, please do consider sharing and subscribing this video. Let me know in the comments what topic should I cover next, and thanks for watching.
Anyone taking initiative will always get criticized for moving too fast, because there's always someone who wants to slow you down. An entrepreneurial culture thrives when it is easy to try lots of new ideas. Facebook wasn't the first thing I built. I also built chat systems and games, study tools and music players, and I'm not alone. J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times before she finally wrote and published Harry Potter. Even Beyoncé had to make hundreds of songs to get Halo. The greatest successes come from having the freedom to fail.